You guys, I am so nervous to film this video. I am literally already perspiring. I feel like I might get out of breath. I'm actually going to share some of the financials of my business with you today. Yes, I am going to tell you how much my reselling / YouTube business made. This thing that I have been growing with you and taking you along for the ride. I'm actually going to share 2024 results with you today if I don't chicken out. Chicken out. Oh my God, I'm so nervous to do this because while it's a success story, it's not one of those stories where I went from nothing to I'm now quitting all my jobs and I'm buying a beach house and I'm a bajillionaire, because that's all the stories that you usually are seeing online. And so this is a very realistic story about the power of marketing and how with some very focused effort, you can actually make big results in your business. So for this video, I actually put together a PowerPoint presentation. And some of you guys don't know this, but I'm actually a marketing consultant. So that is my job. That is my profession. I do that part-time. I'm not doing all this stuff with a full-time job. That would be impossible. I'm also a mom as well. And so I wanted to put together this PowerPoint and do a year in review similar to what I would do for a client, because I treated my reselling YouTube business as a actual business in a focus in 2024. So I felt like I needed to do an actual year in review where I went through all the financials, I went through what worked and what didn't, and put it all in a presentation that was easy for me to digest, because I needed to remember and celebrate all the amazing things that I accomplished. And then I also needed to remember the things that didn't work. And I ended last year in a state of burnout, which I'm sure didn't surprise you guys. And so it was helpful for me to realize, why did I feel so burnt out at the end of the year? Well, it's because these things did not work. And it was because these things worked too well. And I had experienced growth that I was totally unprepared for. So that is the reason why I put together this PowerPoint. So we're going to go through some of the slides. And I promise this is not a corporate meeting, even though corporate Andi is probably already coming out and just going into your screen. But I think it would be helpful to kind of just have a framework for this video. And so that's why I'm gonna put some of the slides on the screen, but I promise you this is not a meeting. So one thing I've probably never really shared with you guys is, why am I a reseller / YouTuber? Like, why did I even start this journey? I'm sure many of you probably think it's because I'm addicted to the hunt. And while I do love vintage shopping and thrifting, I do, that is actually not the reason and the whole mission of why I'm doing this. And especially why I'm sharing it with the world rather than just doing it on my own without a YouTube channel or an Instagram account. So I'm gonna put my mission on the screen so you guys can read it. But in a nutshell, it's very important for me to make sure people see the value in used and secondhand goods. It's an environmental act of service to buy secondhand. And so that is really the driving force. This is one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of sponsorships, really any sponsorships. And that is not because I don't have opportunities coming to me. Trust me, once you get to a certain point of subscribers or Instagram followers, those opportunities come to you. But I have never wanted to encourage people to buy new stuff for the sake of buying new stuff. So my mission is to encourage people to buy used, secondhand, vintage, and antique stuff. And so this mission will kind of help you understand some of the decisions and business decisions I make, because I know a lot of people are always asking me well, why aren't you doing XYZ sponsorships? It's because, well, it doesn't align with my mission. Okay, so now that you know my mission, let's get into what my goals were. So when I started this year, my main focus was going to be on doing more YouTube. And the reason why is because there are very few career paths you can take where you can do the same amount of effort and still make more and more money as you grow. If I want to make more money in my marketing consulting business, I have to do more client work. If I want to make more money as a reseller, I have to sell more stuff, or I have to sell more high-end stuff, but I'm doing more to make more money. Where YouTube and being a content creator is really one of the only places that once you get to a certain amount of following and then that just keeps going, that you can make more money doing kind of the same things that you're doing. So the amount of effort doesn't necessarily have to change. You can still put out 2 videos, but those 2 videos will make you staggering more money all the time over. And that is not available in other types of jobs. So that is why I decided to focus exclusively on YouTube. Prior to last year, I had been very inconsistent. There were reasons for that. I had a lot of health issues that I had to work through, but I was not able to be consistent. 2024, I was very consistent. So my main goal was to grow the YouTube portion of my business, and that as a marketing channel is so highly effective, it grew the other parts of my business. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's put my 2024 goals on the screen. So some of the things that I wanted to accomplish this year, I wanted to do my very first solo market. I had only ever shared a booth at a market with a buddy, and so I wanted to do it myself, so I did that. I wanted to get my very first vintage booth. I'd only ever sold online really, and then I did an occasional market, but I wanted to have like an actual space that I could build out with my own brand, and so I did that ×2. So I was a little bit of an overachiever. I have a vintage booth at Tiny Brambles in downtown Portland, and then I have a vintage booth at Curiosities in downtown Tigard, if you're in the Pacific Northwest. I also wanted to hit $3,000 a month in YouTube ad revenue by the end of the year. So I got my highest earning month was November on YouTube, and that month produced $2,600 in ad revenue, which was great. Wait till I tell you where I was and where I ended up. It is a pretty remarkable story. But anyways, where did I come up with that $3,000 a month goal? I just kind of pulled it out of the air. The problem with ad revenue, you can't just watch a video of someone saying, okay, well, I made X amount of money with 1 million views, because what you make is dependent on so many factors: your demographics of your audience, where you're located in the world, what your subject matter is, how often you're posting, how long your videos are, etc., etc., etc. So it's really hard to predict. So 10 million views for one person is not the same for 10 million views for another person in terms of revenue generated. So I had no way of knowing how much was even possible. So I just said 3,000. Because I was like, you know what, that's great. How about just 3,000? So I was really close 1 month to hitting that $3,000 a month target that I had set for myself. So I was really excited about that. And I'm gonna share exactly this, like where I was and where I ended in a few minutes, because it blows me away. And then the other thing I wanted to do was a sourcing trip in Europe. I really wanted to do that type of content series for YouTube, and plus I love traveling, and this was a way to travel and do something I love at the same time. So check on that. I did go to Belgium and Amsterdam in the fall and September, and so I have a whole series of videos on that. So I'll link them down below. If you haven't watched them, they're really fun. Okay, so now we're gonna get into more of the juicy bits, like what worked this year, what did not work this year, and then I will share with you what I made in 2024 with this combined YouTube reselling business. Okay, so let's now talk about what worked last year. Okay, so the first thing that worked well for me is I decided to do 2 videos a week on YouTube. Prior to that, I was doing 1 video a week, or I would skip a week because it was very inconsistent. And so I decided to commit myself to about 2 videos a week, and that definitely helped. The other thing I did was Goodwill focused videos. So sometimes you guys are asking, like, why am I shopping at Goodwill? Why are other YouTubers shopping at Goodwill? Why aren't we shopping at, independent, thrift stores and stuff? We of course do that too. But just so you guys know, to be ranked and have your videos show up on social media, there's certain keywords and phrases that are king, that will always produce viewers for you. In Goodwill shopping, and Goodwill thrift with me is gold, frankly. Anytime I do a video that includes the word Goodwill on the thumbnail or Goodwill in the subject, always gets significantly more views than any other type of content. And so that's why I kind of started doing a focused series on that, because that is the best way to increase ad revenue. And I was going there anyways, I just was including it as part of videos, not like a dedicated shopping day. And so when I changed that strategy, I definitely saw a big uptick in growth. And so that's one of the reasons why we do that, is because ultimately this is a business, and so you have to do content you're excited about and content that will make you money. And so that's kind of always the balance that we're always striking as someone who is a content creator. Okay, moving on to Etsy, what worked this year? So because I was doing so many haul videos, my sell-through rate last year was 75 to 100% of the stuff that I showed. Sometimes everything I showed in the video would sell within like a 24-hour period. Sometimes 75% of the stuff would sell. But it was pretty remarkable, the correlation between like showing the stuff and the stuff selling. And that is just, it's amazing to have your inventory, come in and go out that quickly. It also poses a sourcing issue, which we'll talk about in a minute. And so that is really the power of YouTube, and why I have chosen to focus exclusively on YouTube, because not only do I earn ad revenue, but I'm also selling through the product that I am buying and bringing into the home. So it's an amazing marketing vehicle. And I was having pretty decent sell-through of the stuff I was hauling even before I made such big gains in viewers. And so it's just amazing as a marketing tool. You know, video content, you hear this all the time. It's the best tool to use for your business, and it is. It's also the hardest tool to do by far. Because there's a lot you put into it before you see any sort of gain. But I will say, in terms of selling stuff, YouTube was amazing. And because there's so much activity in my Etsy shop, because of the traffic I'm pulling in from YouTube, that also stimulates everything else in Etsy too, because Etsy likes shops that are vibrant, that are constantly listing. And I was constantly listing because I was constantly hauling. And because of that, I was definitely more priority ranked because there was so much activity in my shop. So anyways, YouTube definitely helped Etsy, and Etsy, I can't believe some of my months in Etsy were bananas. They were very good, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about my vintage booths. I had no idea what to expect. No one ever talks about what is considered a good month or not. And so I just was just like, I know I have to make rent, and ideally more than rent. And so I did. Every month I made more than rent, which was amazing, you know, enough to pay a bill or two. And so I felt like that was kind of a win. And so given that I had no expectations, I felt like that, you know, that what I obviously did, the product that I put into it and the way that I styled it must have worked because I was selling stuff. So I feel like that was a win. One thing that was a great surprise was the signage in my booth. So I have like these little like tabletop signs that talk about me as a YouTuber, encourage people to watch my channel, follow me on Instagram, you know, check out my Etsy shop, etc., etc. And so that signage actually worked. And that was one of the motivators for having a booth as well, not just like to have a place to store stuff that, you know, in an environment that would also sell the stuff, but also to have another place to, you know, market the other part of my business, which is my YouTube channel. And so I wasn't totally sure the signage was working until kind of by the end of the year, it kind of dawned on me that I was getting recognized in public a lot more than I was at the beginning of the year. And I originally was thinking, oh, that's because overall my channel is growing. So of course I'm gonna get more recognized. But then I realized, wait, it's a disproportionate of local people that are recognizing me in public. And this is not just me at the thrift store and someone comes up to me. This is like at a birthday party. Like I'm out doing other things in environments that are not vintage thrifting focused, and people were coming up to me and recognizing me. And so it dawned on me like, oh my gosh, that's because of my local signage. People were intrigued by, oh, this booth owner has a YouTube channel. They would watch me, and then the next time they saw me, then there you go. And so I was really excited to realize that, okay, this is the reason why this is happening. And one thing that kind of cemented the fact that being recognized more was probably attributed to my signage is because I was shopping, and one of you guys came up to me, mentioned that the reason why they found out about my channel was because of my signage in my booth. And so I was just like, oh, this is like a firsthand account, like confirming what I had already been suspecting, which was that my signage was definitely increasing local views on my YouTube channel. So that was really great. So if you don't have signage in your booth, I would highly, highly recommend it. It's very easy to create a little sign. There is a free design tool online called Canva. And if you sign up, there's all sorts of templates. And so you can just put in your information, like your Instagram handle, your Etsy shop, you know, all the things, assuming your mall allows it. And, you know, put them in, and then you will see other parts of your business grow. And so it's just a really effective marketing tool. So anyway, signage all the way, that was a big win. And the last thing that worked was affiliate marketing. So I have an Amazon storefront. As much as I can, I want to encourage people to obviously buy secondhand. But there's certain things you can't buy secondhand, like some cleaning products. And a lot of the tools you use for your business, you may not be able to buy secondhand. And so those types of things I feel comfortable mentioning and encouraging people to purchase because they really are transformative to my life. And they're just things that you, like I said, that are hard or impossible to buy secondhand. And so I made about $200 in affiliate marketing. That's not a lot, but it helped pay for my Starbucks addiction. But it definitely did not make or break me financially because it was such a small amount of money. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the things that didn't work, and everybody loves to hear how people fail. Now these are not failures, but these are definitely things that contributed to my burnout. These are just things that I was just like, oh, you know, they're hard lessons learned. And so the first thing I want to talk about is YouTube. Now, this is not like something that didn't work, but this is something that's always like a bit of a bummer is, and we already touched on a little bit, is that Goodwill videos outperform other types of content. Now, the great thing is there are many of you out there now that like me regardless of Goodwill videos, and you will watch all sorts of videos that I do, and I appreciate you more than anything. And so I'm going to continue to grow non-Goodwill focused videos like antique malls and decorating and day in the life and business ones like this. But I just have to always remember that they're just not going to perform as well as Goodwill videos usually. And so that's always a bummer. It's not that it didn't work, it just is always kind of a bummer to realize. In terms of Etsy, so here's like some of the first figures I'm gonna share with you. My order volume last year was too much. It was absolutely too much. And I know that sounds ridiculous to say, like, you have too many orders, what a problem to have. And I absolutely agree with you. But as someone who does not like to ship or build a box, I have a lot of reselling friends that just love to build boxes and ship. That's one of their favorite parts. They love packaging things. It's just like their favorite thing. That is not me. So it's for someone who doesn't like to ship and for someone who really doesn't have a lot of time, shipping and fulfillment of Etsy orders is very involved, and every item is hard. Every item is hard because I sell a lot of breakable stuff. I sell a lot of like inconsistently sized stuff. Anyone else who's selling clothing, who are selling predictable same things, their shipping and fulfillment goes much quicker because they have this standardized box and they have something that won't break, and so that process goes faster. I have sell a lot of breakables, and so it takes me sometimes 10 to 15 minutes to find the perfect box that won't have the item break and to package it up and make sure everything's good. You obviously measure it, weigh it, get the label, etc. And so I was spending the better part of several days doing fulfillment each week because there were so many orders coming in. Now, that is a good problem to have, but in November, my sales were $5,500 on Etsy, and that was the most that I had ever made in any one month. Prior to 2024, my Etsy sales every month were like $1,000 to $1,500 in sales. Well, fast forward to 2024, because of all the focused YouTube effort, and because of the fact that I was listing so often that Etsy was prioritizing my shop, my sales, I had many months where my sales were over $4,000, and then I ended in November where my sales were $5,500 for that month, which is incredible. Now I have to obviously back out. I offer free shipping, so that needs to come out of that total, and cost of goods needs to come out of that total. But even so, that was several thousands of dollars a month, and that was wildly more than what I was used to, and therefore that shipping volume was a lot. And so I learned a lot, and there's certain things I'm gonna do this coming year to make shipping a little bit easier for me. I'm gonna change like my lowest price point because I ship mostly small things. There was too many lower cost things that I just were not worth the time. Like really at the end of the day, I was losing money shipping out that item, listing it, photographing it, shipping it out. I lost money in terms of like time value calculation. And so I'm gonna make some changes next year. But yeah, it was a good problem to have, but it's just one of those examples where your growth overwhelms you and you're just unprepared. So good problem, but led to a lot of burnout. So in terms of my booth, you guys know this, but I did not keep my inventory separate. What was on Etsy was often in my booth because I wanted any opportunity for someone to buy the things that I was selling. And so that became a logistical nightmare because sometimes things would get stolen from a booth, sometimes things would just go missing in the mall. And so I was really bummed because things would sell and then I would go in to get them and they would not be there. And that was a bummer. And so I had a handful of orders I had to cancel last year because of that, which I felt just really, really sad about. It just really broke my heart to have to cancel because of one of those types of scenarios. Plus, I was driving more than I needed to pick up objects I had sold when I didn't need to make that special trip. And if the item was in my home, I could have just picked it up and shipped it out rather than a hour round trip type of affair to go grab that thing. So next year I will be keeping my inventory a lot more separate and hopefully that will alleviate all those headaches. So this next thing I really hesitated on including because I don't want anyone to ever feel like they can't engage with me or my content, that they can't send me a message or an email or come up to me in person, because I absolutely adore all of those interactions. It just warms my heart. The community that I have built, you guys are just, it could bring me to tears. Oh, it's gonna bring me to tears. Oh man, I knew I was gonna cry at some point on this video. I can't talk about being grateful without crying. It's ridiculous. Anyways, as a born people pleaser and an extrovert and someone who just absolutely loves making meaningful connections with people, that is one of the benefits of being a content creator, is just you just get so much love, and then you can give so much love to people, and the connections you make are just so genuine and lovely and warm my heart. Not to mention that it also is a good driver for engagement, which also helps grow a business. It's just last year, the volume that was coming at me all the time became just something I couldn't keep up with anymore. And that was really, really hard to swallow, that I was going to be disappointing people, that I was going to miss messages, I was going to miss emails, I wasn't going to be able to respond in a way that I know people wanted. So I was spending hours in the evening trying to keep on top of things, when I should have been spending that time with my husband after our son went to bed. That is an important thing to do, is to maintain your relationships with the real people in your life that are the most important to you. So anyways, I am saying, like, still continue to send me those messages, still come up to me in public, still send me mail, still do all those things, because gosh darn it, I'm gonna cry again. Okay, so I got some tissues. So those moments are what really made me feel the most proud this year. It's not how much money I made, which I'm gonna share in a second, I promise. You're probably like, my God, this is quite the lead. But anyways, those were the moments that I'm most proud of. Even if I had not had big gains financially, just knowing that I made a difference, or that you enjoyed my content, was a win for me. So anyway, so keep doing it. Just know, if I don't respond or respond in the way that you had hoped, it's because I was overwhelmed, and I'm trying to prevent burnout and also continue to have a relationship with my family while growing this. Okay, so we have finally gotten to the juiciest part of this video, which is how much did I make in 2024 as a YouTuber and vintage reseller. So the figure I'm gonna share with you is a combined amount, and it encompasses 4 different income streams. So it's my Etsy shop, my vintage booth, my YouTube ad revenue, and then affiliates and sponsorship. So it includes all of that. I'm not gonna break it out by type. I'm just gonna give you a full number. And then I'm gonna talk a little bit about where I was with YouTube specifically, because that journey and that increase has been really, really crazy. And so I just wanna remind you, before I share this number with you, that I'm very nervous to do this. I'm trying to be transparent, and it's very vulnerable, and I'm feeling all sorts of things about it. So please do not make me regret sharing this very sensitive and vulnerable information with you. Okay, so across those 4 income streams, my reselling YouTube business combined made me $42,200 and some odd change dollars. So roughly $42,000. Now, my actual sales were higher than that. So that figure, that 42,000 and some change, already has the cost of goods and fees and shipping and basically my expenses backed out of it. So obviously I earned more than that, but I wanted to give you the take-home figure, because the take-home figure is more meaningful than the figure. Then you guys are like, well, how much did she spend on inventory? How much did she do all that? I didn't want to have to go through backing all that out. I just am giving you the number after I did that stuff when I was doing all my spreadsheets. So 42,000 is how much this piece of my my life made for me. Now, I'm not going to share what I made as a marketing consultant. That's separate. That's private for me. But this reselling YouTube business, that's how much it made. Now, I am incredibly proud of that figure, especially knowing how much I made in 2023, which was staggeringly less. And so the fact that I was able to generate tens of thousands of dollars more in a single year was really, really amazing to me. Now, I know some of you guys are probably thinking, wow, that's not as much as I thought Andi was making. Some of you might be like, whoa, that's amazing. That's very meaningful money. That's obviously not an amount I can support a family on, especially in Oregon. Absolutely not. It's a very high cost of living out here. And that's not an amount of money where I can quit my consulting business. No, that's not, I'm not there yet, nor I don't know if I will ever, do that. I don't know. But I definitely got closer to being able to have that as something I could maybe entertain one day. Like maybe this could be my full-time thing rather than splitting myself between, consulting and this. And so it's a figure that I'm really proud of. I wanted to share it because I want people to know that when you're growing a business, it's usually not, very rarely is anything an overnight success. I used to work in private equity. Many of you guys don't know that. I was the marketing director at a private equity firm. And one of the owners said to me once, he's like, an overnight success when you're an entrepreneur is 5 years. 5 years is considered someone who is an overnight success. And so I always keep that in the back of my mind because so many times we're seeing people, only sharing the point where they have made enough to just quit everything. Those are the only business things that we're seeing. And I think that it makes people feel very discouraged, and it also makes people not realize that there's a lot in between that people don't share with you. And so that's why I wanted to share the in between. I feel like I'm in the in between point. I want to talk about YouTube specifically because it's just a crazy transformation. So after I got monetized in 2023, my entire ad revenue in 2023, that total that I made that year was just over $600. And when I realized that was how much I had made, it was gutting, and I almost quit YouTube. And then my husband's like, no, you have not really focused. And I'm just like, you know what? I have focused on it. And he's like, no, you have not focused like a job focused on it. It's something you were fitting in. You need to carve out time from your, consulting business to actually do it. And so that's what I did in 2024. That's when I was able to do the 2 videos a week, did the Goodwill stuff. And so it's pretty remarkable, the transformation. So I went from $600 in 1 year, and then in 2024, my ad revenue was $16,000 after you add it up every single month. And that to me is, that amount of change is amazing. And I am so proud of that, especially since I thought I was going to quit, because I had told myself and I had told my husband, I'm like, if after devoting so much of myself to it this year and I still can't make any sort of meaningful money, not that $600 isn't meaningful, it's just like I can barely pay a bill with that in the Pacific Northwest. I wanted to make sure that I was making money that could really make a difference for my family, for all the effort that I was putting into it. And so it did. So I was just like, hallelujah. I didn't want to quit YouTube because I love it so much, but it is by far and away the hardest money I will ever earn. And the most vulnerable money I will ever earn, because it literally is me doing it. I am not hiding behind a computer. I am myself, and I'm letting people have opinions about me every single day. Most of the time they're good. Sometimes they're not. Those people, But I was grateful that I feel like I can confidently continue on this journey because I see the potential there for it to continue to grow. Where in 2023, after $600, in the end, I was like, oh, it was helping my Etsy shop, but still, that was really gutting. But this year, I feel like I can end the year confidently and feel good about doing YouTube again in 2025. So anyways, I just want to share that YouTube story specifically because it just blew me away, and I'm very proud of that amount. So all in all, a good year, a very good year, just a year that I was unprepared for in so very many ways, which is very common when you're growing a business. It makes me really nervous to put this out there. I don't know how you're gonna respond to it. But anyways, I hope you at least found it helpful. That is one of the things that drives me. I just want people to go into business and go into all these things with their eyes open and have real stories shared with them. Okay, so we're just gonna end with a few fun highlights. So some other wins last year, I was featured by Martha Stewart and Apartment Therapy a few times, which was great. I was their thrifting vintage trend expert in the vintage space. And so that was really fun. I'll link those articles down below if you guys haven't had a chance to read them, especially anyone who's just started following me. I also had a local video interview, which was really exciting, and so I can link to that as well. And then I also hosted co-hosted a few reseller meetups, which they were local and they were so much fun. And I actually have plans to do this more in 2024. I was going to share all my plans for next year, but I'm realizing that's gonna make this video even longer than it already is. And so I may film that at another time. But some of the standout things that I'm planning, which is obviously I want to increase my ad revenue on YouTube continually. I'm actually gonna create my own e-commerce site. So I'm not backing away from Etsy. Etsy still is a great selling platform for me. I just want to make sure that I have all the tools that I have available to be able to link product on other social platforms. So there's a lot of integration opportunity when you have a dedicated e-commerce site that you don't have with Etsy. And so that's kind of the motivator behind that. I'm hoping to maybe do some workshops and stuff about content creation because everyone is always asking me about it. And I just have been like, oh, one day maybe I'll do it. Well, I feel like maybe I should just try to prioritize it this year. And then I also want to do some subscriber meet and greets because you guys have mentioned that that would be fun. So anyways, those are just some of the things that I'm mulling over in 2025. Of course, I have a long PowerPoint of things because that's corporate Andi coming out. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. I'm sure after editing, I'm gonna have like a panic attack, especially because I cried so much on it. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Really, thank you so much for everything that you did to help support my business. You bought from me, you cheered me on, you commented, you followed, you subscribed, you sent me mail. You did so many amazing things for me, and it just, I could cry again over it. I will not, I promise. And I just am so grateful. And the community that we've built here is just absolutely phenomenal. It's a dream, and I'm grateful for it every day. God darn it. Anyways, I don't mean to end like this. So thank you. If you're looking for more thrifting and decorating content between these videos, make sure you check me out on Instagram. That's my usual close. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to show you all the fun things that we have planned for this year.